Welcome back everyone, it's Raleigh and we've finally arrived at the Kingdom of Kryta. For some, this might be the most important region to talk and learn about, since many players choose to play humans, and even ArenaNet has put a lot of emphasis on Kryta when it comes to the lore and story involvement going into Guild Wars 2 and its expansions. It also serves as the quote-unquote mostly peaceful Green Hills area of the game, which in many video games acts as the starting point. Kryta is also special in the sense that not only do we find the human starting area here, but also Lion's Arch, which is the main hub for the core game of Guild Wars 2. As always, as we explore Kryta in this video, beware of some spoilers specifically for the first game, but with all that said, let's see what Kryta has in store for us. Kryta is a lush green hillside located between the central Shiver Peak Mountains to the east and the Maguma Waste to the west. The Sea of Sorrows is past the southern shore, and to the north lie the woodland Cascades. While Kryta serves as the typical green plains and hills area for the game, it didn't always look like this. In fact, before the rise of Zaitan, the elder dragon of death and shadow, whose awakening caused a huge tsunami and transformed much of the landscape, this area sported more of a beachy theme. Back then, the flora included many palm trees along beaches, and further inland were many swamps. The climate has since changed from tropical to more temperate. Much of the swampland and beaches remain but have diminished in size, and the tropical palm trees gave way to more broadleaf trees. The fauna consists of a plethora of creatures, from bears and wolves to wasps and moas of different kinds, among many others. As far as known history goes, Kryta has always been a human territory, and it's unknown if there was ever another major race that controlled this region. When Zaitan rose, causing the aforementioned huge tsunami, the capital of the human kingdom at the time, Lion's Arch, was completely flooded, and the humans relocated to the northern side of Kryta to establish Divinity's Reach as the new capital. After the rebuilding of Lion's Arch as a free city for all peoples of Tyria, many new races started showing their faces in this region. While certain conflicts have emerged in recent years, like new groups of bandits, other conflicts have persisted throughout the years, like the war between the centaurs and the humans, and the looming threat of the ever-elusive White Mantle. These are perhaps the biggest threats in the area, but they're also widespread, like the centaurs having camps set up in the far south of Kryta, which is far from their home region of the woodland Cascades, or bandits having set up multiple bases in the Harathi hinterlands, the main staging area for the human and centaur war. Zaitan's flood caused many pirates to take up camp north of Lion's Arch on lakes in the Gandharan Fields, who might pose a problem for adventurers seeking passage. Between Guild Wars 1 and Guild Wars 2, the Tengu have also taken up refuge in what used to be known as Sanctum K, an island to the south of Kryta, now called the Dominion of Winds. They have isolated themselves on this island by building a massive wall that spans the entire area and do not let any outsiders come into their city. Much of their current culture is also unknown, but we do know that they are led by an emperor who presides over 4 great houses. They also have established trade camps outside the walls of their dominion. Being the last human nation still standing, there is a rich history to Kryta, and as I mentioned earlier, ArenaNet has put a lot of focus on human-centric issues throughout the game, meaning that many of the threads that are set up early on in the story will have a larger impact on stories to tell later. Enough with being cryptic though, let's have a look at an overview of the timeline of events for the region of Kryta. King Mazdak, one of the princes of Or, established the kingdom of Kryta sometime before the exodus of the gods. In 300 AE, Ilona colonized Kryta, but only for a short while, and in 358 AE, Kryta once again became an independent nation. It was around this time that the original Centaur War began. The many centuries between the start of the Centaur War and the Guild Wars is a mystery at this point. While there were 3 Guild Wars fought, we do know that Ascalon did win against Kryta in the Second Guild War, which ended around 1013 AE. Much like Ascalon, Kryta was assaulted by the Char, ending the Third Guild War around 1070 AE. Kryta was more fortunate than Ascalon though, with Saul D'Alessio arriving with his White Mantle followers and the backing of his unseen gods to defend the region against the Char onslaught. King Jaden, the ruler of Kryta at the time, fled the throne and the White Mantle seized control of the kingdom. While Saul had won against the Charr invasion force, he was taken by the unseen gods, and other leaders in the White Mantle who were witness to this event said that he had died at the hands of the Charr. Shortly thereafter, the Ascalonian refugees arrived in Kryta. With the help of the heroes from Guild Wars 1, they were granted their own village, now known as the Ascalonian settlement, and the heroes became honorary White Mantle. Eventually, the heroes, with the help of the Shining Blade, a secret underground organization, found out that the White Mantle were killing innocent citizens on top of what was known as the Maguma Bloodstone. The heroes and the Shining Blade fought back against the White Mantle, killing one of their leaders, Justiciar Hablion, on top of the Bloodstone, but the heroes were eventually driven out of Kryta. The White Mantle pursued the Shining Blade leadership into the southern Shiver Peaks, where eventually they and the leader of the Stone Summit Dwarfs, Dagnar Stonepate and his forces, were confronted by the heroes and the Deldrimor Dwarfs at the Battle for Thunderhead Keep. Around this time, the unseen gods of the White Mantle had been revealed to not be gods, but an ancient race of sorcerers known as the Mursat. At the end of the Battle for Thunderhead Keep, the leader of the White Mantle, Confessor Dorian, met his end, but this didn't stop the White Mantle in the slightest. A new confessor was appointed, and the White Mantle's grip on Kryta became even tighter. For 7 years, the White Mantle ruled, which ended in the Krytan Civil War. Selma, daughter to King Jaden, along the heroes of the first game who had returned to Kryta with Livia, an agent of the Shining Blade, and with the help of the Shining Blade at large, fought back against the White Mantle. The White Mantle had become very oppressive in their rule and led Kryta with an iron fist, controlling the masses with hired brigands. Eventually, the fighting came to a head at the Battle for Lion's Arch, in which Selma and the Shining Blade made a final stand against the White Mantle and the Mursat overlords. Selma and the Shining Blade were victorious, and Selma was crowned queen in 1079 AE. While the White Mantle and the Mursat were cast out, a short period of a golden age ensued, with many Krytans remembering Selma as Queen Selma the Good. The next major event for Kryta happened in 1219 AE, when the undead dragon Zaitan arose in the south, raising ore from the depths and creating a huge flood. The flood destroyed most major outposts and cities on the southern shoreline, including the capital, Lion's Arch, causing the royal family, alongside the Krytan humans, to move to the northern side of Kryta and establish Divinity's Reach on the Divinity Coast as the new capital. Kabaya Mariner, with the help of other pirates, rebuilt Lion's Arch and formed the first Captain's Council to lead the people and defend Kryta against the attacking dead ships of ore. In 1256 AE, Eder, the Krytan Crown Prince, led a large naval force against Lion's Arch to reclaim it for the kingdom. While Eder captured Kabaya and his family, his conquest was halted by the attack of dead ships from ore. Kabaya, with the help of citizens from both Kryta and Lion's Arch, defeated the attacking fleet and finally earned Lion's Arch its independence from the Krytan nation. As always, that brings us to the current state of the region of Kryta. The human-centaur conflict rages on throughout many battlefields, but it is especially bad in the northern region of the Harathi hinterlands. Many bandits are taking advantage of the situation and are rising in power through unknown ways, building many secret hideouts in the region. Queen Jenna is the ruling monarch of the Kingdom of Kryta, hailing from the royal palace on top of Divinity's Reach, but many members of the ministry are questioning her rule and are attempting to undermine the queen at every turn. Seraph, the soldiers of Kryta, and the Lion Guard, forces from Lion's Arch, are trying their best to hold back all the different enemy factions throughout the region. Lion's Arch, being a free city, sees many pirates and merchants, truly acting as the melting pot of central Tyria. Assaults from Zaitan's risen forces from the south are common, and the Lion Guard has built defensive forts along many of the islands leading to ore. While most of Lion's Arch is friendly, on the outskirts of the city you will find pirate groups that may not be so welcoming to strangers crossing into their territory. Let's look at each of the maps of the Krytan region and what things you might encounter here. As usual, we will start off with one of the 5 racial cities, that being Divinity's Reach. While Divinity's Reach is split into different districts that all represent the various backgrounds of the human race, at the very top in the middle is the Royal Palace, alongside the garden in the central plaza, as well as the Chamber of Ministers. Beneath Divinity's Reach are a series of tunnels that hold a lot of mystery that newer players have yet to experience. Heading south from Divinity's Reach, we get to the starter map for human characters, Queensdale. While the farms in the north around Shaymore are attacked by mostly bandits who are hiding within large caves, the Seraph troops stationed at the garrison are trying to hold off the centaurs from invading even further. The centaurs are controlling large parts of the eastern side of the map, and there is a constant struggle for territory around this area. The God's Lost Swamp lies to the south, which is said to have a connection to the underworld. Beetleton and the township of Claypool, some of the larger human villages, lie to the northeast and southwest respectively. Going further south past the swamp, you come to the Kessex Hills. In the south is where you can find the large wall separating the Dominion of Winds from the rest of the world. The local Tengu are fighting off destroyers in that area. The southeast holds Garenhof, a small town that is watched over by a large and mysterious floating tower. Fights with the centaurs occur all throughout the map, but the heaviest fighting takes place in the west, where the Seraphs stationed outside of Fort Selma are trying to cripple the local centaur leadership. Viathan Lake, which got its namesake from a leviathan that once lived in these waters, lies smack in the middle of the map, and a few Quaggan are trying to live a peaceful life here to no avail. Northeast of the area and directly east of Queensdale lie the Gendaran Fields. Many farms are strewn throughout this area, with heavy centaur contact in the north. Ascalon Settlement, one of the last surviving Ascalonian villages, is under constant siege by centaurs. Lake Gendar in the middle is home to a few pirate groups. The Vigil stands tall on the edge of the mountains leading down from the Shiver Peaks to the northeast, and Dredge and Eden are occupying the area east at the foot of the mountains. North of the fields are the Hirathi hinterlands, the main staging area for the human and centaur war. While bandits are using the southwestern caves for their camps, the opposite side of the map has the largest base for centaur troops. While there are many centaur camps throughout this area, there is an unlikely group of heroes fighting back from a base camp in the southeast. The very northwest houses Sarah's Landing, a major fort with boat access to Lake Doric in the west. Even Skrit are struggling to survive in the north. And at last we have Lion's Arch. This is the major hub for new and old players alike. Here you have not only access to every service imaginable, but also different locations like the Mist War and the Fractals of the Mists. The Ship's Council, or Captain's Council, the ruling body of Lion's Arch, can be found at the Crow's Nest Tavern in the West Ward. Fort Mariner lies across the bridge south of the Grand Piazza and is the headquarters for the Lion Guard. Different farms and inns are spread out in the outlying areas, with a couple of other memorable places to explore. The very far south holds the Lion's Arch Aerodrome, which houses airships and is used in-game as the raid lobby. That about does it for Kryta. While it does not have a lot of different maps, and there isn't much high-level content here, Kryta as a region holds a huge amount of significance when it comes to lore and story. While Guild Wars 2 has 5 playable races, it becomes pretty obvious that ArenaNet has put a lot more effort into the human involvement of things, more so than any other race. So many things you see, hear, and experience in these maps will be important in later story threads as you progress through the game. I hope you enjoyed this look at the region of Kryta, and make sure to subscribe to see the rest. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Bye guys!